Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Discordant Dragons. Tonight is the 241st Discordant Dragons. Wow, we've been doing this for quite some time. Tonight, we have an excellent lineup, some friends, especially old Fat Dave hopping into the floating seat tonight. But let's go ahead and bring on the main guest because we will have a lot to talk about tonight. Let's introduce Bede of Britannia. Welcome back, sir. It's been a while. How you doing?
Hello, Yiz, and hello, chat. It's great to be back again.
Glad to have you. Speaking of someone else glad to be back, we have Wandering Panda with us again. Welcome back, sir.
Hello, everybody. Hope we're having a great day.
Coming in loud and clear from the farm. Glad to see things are nice there. All right. And last but not least tonight, Mr. Fat Dave. Welcome, sir.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Always glad to have you here. Now, tonight, 3 of 12 is not going to be with us tonight. He is, to my knowledge, gone or something. I haven't heard from him all day. Oh, no, he said yes. The moment that I said he might not be here, he said he's hopping in. I just got the PM, so he is on the way. We will have him in a second. Good. So we will have our co-host 3 of 12. So let me go ahead and move to the normal view here. And let me pop open there he is. And last but not least, 3 of 12. Welcome, sir. Are you with us? Maybe not. All right. Well, he is present. So he, assuming his microphone works and he gets it sorted out, he will be with us tonight as well.
So, yes, I'm here. It's voice meter being a shit per usual.
Very good. Very good. So let's go ahead and wow, we have a lot of people in chat already. Good to see everybody here. We've got Corgi with us tonight. Dissident Knight, glad to see you guys. Ardent Party, best moderator in the business, glad to see you too. Oh, Aramaic Discourses is here. Hi, nice to see you, buddy. 007, Julian Moss, Chris is here. Good to see you guys. Glad everybody's here already. Bright and early. All right. Oh, Empire 2.0 signing in. Howdy, buddy. All right. So tonight, we will probably have a lot to say on these topics. So let me pull up the branding and introduce you guys to the dragons. Tonight, the red dragon just has war. So obviously, we'll be talking about that. The blue dragon has our tech topic tonight, the speed of light. The white dragon has grifter or victim. The green dragon has some voter fraud. And the black dragon has good old political intimidation. So you can... I made the dragons fairly direct today to give you an idea of what we will be talking about in them. And I tell you what, since Bede of Britannia is back, we'll let him be the party leader tonight. So that means he chooses the dragon that we face, or he chooses a party member to choose the dragon that we face next. And what does that mean? It means after the dragon is chosen and we read a piece of an article and ask the dragon question, whoever chose the dragon is the first one to answer its question. Those are the rules. Mr. Bede of Britannia, would you like to start us off by choosing a dragon first?
Okay, yes, I'll take the bull by the horns and go with the white dragon because I have a strong feeling I know what that's about.
Okay, you probably do. Just a second, let me get it open. All right, here we go. Jason Arday, ex-Cambridge professor accused of plagiarism, found dead in UK a week after investigation launched. Now, perhaps you have all heard of this, and if you listened to my stream last week, you definitely heard about this man and his plagiarisms and his lies. Embattled ex-Cambridge University professor Arday found dead Friday after quitting job at the school over allegations he plagiarized and lied about things, according to a report. Arday, 41, the youngest ever black professor at the Lauded University, or lauded perhaps, was found unresponsive in his South London home and later pronounced dead at the scene. 41-year-old man pronounced dead at the scene. Next of kin have been informed, yada, yada. At the time of his death, it's being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. The case is being investigated by officers from the Met, and this probably means that it was a self-termination. In response, the University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Deborah Prentice said, "We are deeply saddened to hear this tragic news. Our heartfelt sympathies go to Jason Arday's family and friends at this difficult time." Right. Well, as you recall, This all started because a certain gentleman pointed out.
Timothy.
Oh yeah, is cute little raccoon buddy. We'll let the raccoon play because it's cute. As you guys recall, we covered it last week.
Very apropos animal.
Whoa, that's weird. It's showing the stream interface in the video there. You guys seeing that? That's
Yeah.
weird.
Oh, weird.
That is strange. Okay, well, it's only when I mouse over it. That's strange. Wow. Well, anyway, I don't know how or why it works that way. Anyway,
Timothy's a way better story than nigger murder.
yeah. So it was actually not murder; it was self-termination, apparently. So anyway, our day, of course, as you guys learned last week, was a elevated DIE Wunderkind who was a pathological liar that lied about all kinds of stuff, lied about disabilities, lied about just all kinds of crazy accomplishments, about running 30 marathons in a month and just all kinds of crazy stuff, plagiarized a bunch of work. And somebody noticed that a whole bunch of stuff that was in his PhD thesis was not properly cited, and then found out that, half of it was plagiarized or more. So that became a stink. He was asked to resign, and then apparently he self-termed last Friday, which, is sad, but it is what it is. So let's move to the white dragon. The white with us tonight is the same ancient wise worm who spoke with us earlier this year, and he's glad to be back. He looked into this Jason Arday story and sees only darkness, no pun intended. Darkness of purpose, darkness of systems, and darkness of hearts. So his question tonight is this, and it comes to you first, Bede of Britannia. Do you see Jason Arday as an exploited victim or a grifter who got what he deserved? Explain your answer.
Well, in a way, I kind of feel he's both a little bit. I mean, he's definitely a grifter. I mean, I was listening just before you started the stream to Auron did a stream with Burden on his channel, and this was the main topic they were talking about. And the amount of things this guy lied about is absurd. Like, he claimed to have run a marathon on like a broken leg. He claimed to have been in TV programs he wasn't old enough to have been part of. Obviously, there's all this stuff with plagiarism. So yes, and I think he very clearly exploited the system to his advantage. But at the same time, I also think, weirdly, he is also exploited because he's the exact kind of DEI hire that woke types love to promote and love to feel virtuous over having promoted. And so ultimately there's all of this story going around, this idea, it's all these horrible racists who criticized him there, that they've got blood on their hands. No, the people who've got blood on their hands are all of the DEI advocates and leftists who were responsible for the policies that got this guy into this position to begin with. And again, as vile as a man as he was, I don't like seeing people kill themselves. Ultimately, it's still horrible.
And he might not have been vile as a person. He could have just been, a liar, or someone who, because of circumstance of his birth, was placed into a particular situation and he just took advantage of it. Like, he might not have been a meanie. He might not have been a rapist, or he might not have been an evil person. Just, a narcissist that took the path of least resistance when it was offered to him. He might not have been a nasty person, but he's gone now.
Exactly. Well, okay, maybe I was being a bit strong, but ultimately, I think someone who is a compulsive liar is vile.
That's what I mean. Like, it just because he lied about a bunch of stuff and plagiarized some things. I when I hear vile, I think of like the worst of the worst, like, rapists and sadists and people like that. That's usually how my brain associates the word vile, because I play D&D, and the word vile is like the worst of the worst evil characters.
Oh, fair enough. One other thing as well, I'm not sure this is true, but apparently he had children. And if that is true, I do think that's particularly bad what he's done, because it's just abrogating any kind of responsibility.
Yeah, I didn't come across that in any article that he had children. I didn't see that. Huh. Did not know he had kids.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked to hear that as well, because I'm thinking, because again, I find it, if you've got children, why kill yourself? You've got to live for your offspring.
Yeah, I mean, and Dutton was probably right. Seemed very narcissistic, and the suicide is the narcissist's final grift.
Yeah, and since chat seems to be confirming it, that's particularly horrible.
Yeah, married with 2 children, and he's self-termed. Well, supposedly, we don't have the details on that yet, but
yeah,
it's
still
probably
suspicious.
self-termed.
Well, that's recently. We were. I hesitate to use the word celebrating, but I mean there is an aspect of Sky King that is worth celebrating or at least acknowledging. But the fact that you end yourself in that way and take away the means of existence for your family, that puts a stain on everything. And so with this guy, there's a lot we could go into. And so the idea of victim or grifter, it sort of even gets into some of the stuff that Robert E. Lee would talk about, how slavery is ultimately worse for the white man because it kills initiative and it kills action on their part.
Yeah.
It's so whatever else it was. Yeah, I think ultimately with this guy, it certainly gets overshadowed because he just left his wife and kids. And so on top of me just in general appreciating Dutton, that whole idea of it being a narcissistic act, even though I hate that particular N-word.
Yeah.
It also seems plausible.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of psychology either. You guys know I think it's a manipulative anti-white science that shouldn't be allowed, but those are the words we have. That's the world we live in.
Okay.
Feel free to talk about it, 3.
Well, just to come quickly back to your point about psychology, I would agree with you to an extent, but what I would say, I think it depends on the kind of psychology. I mean, if you're talking about Freud, I think Freud is very subversive, whereas from what I've read of Jung seems a lot more interesting. But
I mean the psychology we have now, like DSM-6 or 5 or whatever it is they're on.
Right.
Like the last one that I read was just completely
DSM-5 is junk.
Of like, misandristic applications of, you pathologize the males harder. Normal male behavior is now a sickness, that kind of shit.
So the DSM is the diagnostic Bible, basically. It's how you diagnose diseases and what's considered a disease, what are the symptoms of it, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, you're basically better. You're best off just going back to the DSM-4 and just referring to that, because the DSM-5 changed a whole lot of things in a way that was not helpful. To be very understated about it.
I always get a lot of pushback from people when I say I don't like psychology as a science.
That's because it is a science. It's definitely a science. It's just the problem is there are grifters in it, and we are dealing with the problem with the 90s grant culture that doesn't allow you to actually research real phenomenon. Instead, it's just the same nonsense bullshit, social justice, cultural Marxism nonsense.
Yeah, I remember JVP talking about that before he went nuts. I remember that.
I mean, psychiatry is obviously real, and what we need is fewer feminist therapists that sit in a chair and tell you that you're bad because you're white. We need an army of Jordan Petersons who have 30 plus years of experience in psychiatry in order to help people, give them the tools they need to fix their problems, especially since psychology also involves the physical quirks of the arbitrary nature of our instincts and our neurology. And there's all sorts of tricks that you can use in order to solve issues like trauma, like EDM.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to the study of that, like being scientific, but like the reason why I say it's evil is I see all of the harm it does and all of the evil people using it as a weapon and how it's become a corrupt institution. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah, you're concerned with like the Adam Curtis, Edward Bernays style manipulations.
Yes, exactly. Maybe it's because I spent so many years covering that shit and reading on it. It just seems like so much harm, not just like racial stuff, but like, with consumerism and commercials and making people atomized and turning everybody against each other for competition. Like all of that was done on purpose because of the roots of psychology in the early 1900s. So it's
my main pushback would be that you need to leverage psychology for how it can make you stronger, for knowing your own nature and how to reinforce it so that you're resistant to such things.
Yeah.
it's a banal point.
The light side of the force, so to speak.
It's a banal point, but the history of psychiatry you can see throughout. Sorry, let me compress this a little bit. If you go back, you see that
high resolution.
Particular book burnings had some of the early transgendered and various other extremist positions in there. And so that's been there from the beginning, but like so much of history in the 20th century, the WASP, for lack of a better term, the WASP was still on top and was able to express his biospirit within the emphases within any given area. But slowly but surely that started flipping, and now we're dealing with those extremes that we put so hard against in the beginning.
Yeah, like I'm not one of these crackpots that's like everything in psychology is an evil Jewish trick. Like I don't think that. That's stupid. But it's just because I have had to deal with so much of that shit in my life, and so many of my friends and people I've known have been screwed up by psychology, and like, don't get me started on all the medications they force on kids, like SSRIs and ADHD meds and all this shit. Like, I view all of this as like a very sick science and sick industry. It doesn't have to be, though. I agree with Ree on that. It doesn't have to be. If it's studied responsibly by, you know, people who care and actually want real science to be done, I think anything could be a good science. But I'm just sort of against it as it is.
Well, I think the whole industry has been co-opted by it's been co-opted by fucking venal leftists and people who are just in there purely for exploitative means, right? Like they're just trying to push their point of view. I don't think that psychology itself, as the psychology industry itself, is incredibly unhealthy, because it is full of fucking shitlibs and leftists that just are, you know, so a lot of psychology just consists of you talking to them until you agree with them.
Yeah, right? it's like the 4chan meme. It's like the 4chan meme. Counseling is paying a leftist to psyop you until you agree with him.
Right, and it has a lot of. I mean, there's potential there. Like, in psychology has done good in the past, but yeah, Dax points it out very succinctly in the Rumble chat, is that psychology is a front for legal drug dealing. And very much so. Like they push so many drugs out, and that has only increased by like tenfold as soon as they got the opportunity to start pushing trans drugs on kids, right? Pushing hormones and shit on children. It's just a for-profit industry now.
Same with the ADHD meds, SSRIs, and birth control too.
Yep,
it's awful.
Yeah.
Like it warps people. It's not healthy, and it's done to millions and millions of white kids, and it's evil.
Yeah. A sign that you're dealing with a decent therapist is when they have heavy hesitation to prescribe anything to anyone.
Yes.
Right.
And I'd like to reference, obviously, the movie that exposed what therapy was supposed to be to people in the 90s, Good Will Hunting. Absolutely excellent movie, and the kid who receives the therapy from Robin Wilson.
Williams.
He is Robin Williams. Yes, you're right. Sorry, I'm still kind of stuck on that Wilson debate.
It's all good. Go on. Go on.
He shows what it's supposed to, what a good therapist looks like, and the target was a child like many of us who was told we were a prodigy when we were young. We can do anything. We set our minds to it. The problem is that the real world doesn't want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And in order to fix the problems that essentially other people's created, Robin Wilson has to basically give him the tools for him to solve his own problems. He constantly makes it clear it's not about him telling him what to do. It's about telling him what he can do, how he can become healthier, how he can succeed, how he can get himself out of these ruts of abandonment and trauma and abuse that the modern world dumps on the sensitive white young male.
Yes, absolutely. So my take on Mr. R. Day, from what I've been able to glean about him, is I don't think I don't wish death upon him, but I do think that he was a grifter and a liar who got what was coming to him. Now, Do I think he was also kind of victimized and used by all of these dumb anti-white, white leftist people in the university? Yes, of course, I think he was used by them. But I think he liked it. I think he wanted it. So I think he got what was coming to him in the regard of being exposed, but I don't wish death on him for that. I just want him to lose his station and for the lies to be exposed, the plagiarism to be exposed. So I don't have sympathy for that man because of what a liar and grifter he was. So I do think that he got what was coming to him in regards to being disgraced, but I don't think he got what was coming to him in regards to dying. I think that's a bit extreme.
Well, just to add something to that, I think it's important to remember that Jason Arday, he's not an elite, he's rather a client. And ultimately, what always happens with elites, it's always their clients who ultimately have to pay the price and suffer. And fundamentally, they kind of threw him under the bus ultimately. And it's why you didn't ever want to be a client for these people, because you're expendable.
Yeah. I like your dog, Wandering Panda. He's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty
it's
good.
a she. Hi, dog. Hi, doggy poo.
Yeah.
Well, look at your dog. I maximized you. Let's see your dog.
This is Presley.
Hi, Presley.
This week. Oh, now she's getting a belly rub.
Oh, she's a shy dog.
It's camera shy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 4 of them running around here, and she did really, really well up until she was a little bit older, and we got her fixed, and now she's gotten real soft in the field, but she earned a spot, so she'll be here.
Oh.
Yeah, now she's getting belly rubs, which is off screen.
Yeah, I agree, Stumbling. I think that him being exposed and forced to resign is a good sign. That's good. I mean, we ain't out of the woods yet, and I'm sure that the same evil people are still in charge of the school. But at least it's something. At least it's something. So,
well, go ahead,
Dave. Go ahead.
So he made it so fucking easy to expose him because the shit that he said was so absolutely preposterous, so ridiculously
like running 30 marathons in a month or running a marathon with a broken leg. Like, that's ridiculous,
right?
But this is the sort of thing. If you get no pushback as a 4th grader, you just keep stacking. You keep stacking. You keep stacking until there's finally pushback, and then it all just crumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So nothing. Of value was
did
lost,
you see what Dax?
Fortunately,
what Dax said down there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just didn't put it on screen. I always read my chat. I have it in a window that scrolls beside what we're looking at, so I always see chat. People might think I miss stuff. I never miss anything in chat. I see it all. All right. So as you can see, the scrolling marquee on the bottom of the screen, I would love for you to share some of your hard-earned dollary dues with me. The pinned comment is the link to buy me a coffee. That's what I use now since Entropy is sadly no longer with us. If you send in your dollars to me, I will read out what you have to say after each dragon discussion is over. And again, at the end, in the treasure trove, when we share memes and promote stuff. So there are no paid chats in yet. So let's go ahead and bring the dragons back up and move on for the evening. That was the white dragon we started with grifter or victim, which leaves political intimidation from the black, voter fraud from the green, war from the red, and the speed of light from the blue. And 3 of 12, you missed it right at the beginning. Speed of light is our tech topic for the night, if you want that one. So, Bede, Britannia, you are the leader, however. The ball is back in your court. What shall be next, sir?
Mr. Panda, why didn't you have a go?
Much appreciated. All right, for various reasons, let's go to war.
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 All right.
War never changes.
Actually, war changes quite a bit. That's a stupid line in Fallout. War changes all the time. Anyway.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 3 got it right.
Yeah. From Zero Hedge, the U.S. cannot bomb its way to victory. Scotiabank maps Besant's coming economic hammer on Iran. Brent crude futures ended last week near $88.50 a barrel as traders awaited details of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's planned escalating campaign of economic war against Iran. Besant said Friday that Washington would announce unprecedented economic isolation measures next week against Iran, warning the coming pressure campaign would be unlike anything seen in history. And we're not going to play the video because it's just this old fart saying that. And here's some propaganda art here. For clarity on Besant's upcoming economic isolation operation against Iran, Derek Holt, head of capital markets economic at Scotiabank in Toronto, provided clients with an assessment in which Besant's warning could signal a move well beyond sanctioning shadow tankers and refiners towards dismantling the entire financial support network of Iranian oil. Now, what could that be? Here's the speculation on what that could be of unprecedented economic sanctions. Targeting India and China, since China is the main buyer of Iranian oil and is involved in undermining U.S. sanctions. The U.S. sanctions some individual Chinese entities and in April announced sanctions against Chinese teapot refineries. The U.S. could step up its actions by sanctioning all Chinese banks, this time including large institutions, and blocking their access to the U.S. and global financial systems. That would push China further away from the SWIFT system and block access to correspondent and other forms of banking. It could block access to the U.S. dollar funding markets as well. This would very likely enrage China and risk multiple forms of retaliation and escalation, broaden the scope of sanctions on Iran. This would extend the scope to any global group, company, or entity involved in buying, financing, insuring, or shipping Iranian oil. Looking at you, global banks, currency exchanges, commodity traders, shippers, etc. Actions under this category would aim to entirely thwart the sale of oil from Iran to China in yen and its conversion into dollars and other currencies via exchange houses in Iran and elsewhere. You target other Middle Eastern nations facilitating this trade by blocking their access to dollar funding and global banking markets, such as Dubai's one foot in, one foot out stance on the war, which continues to facilitate Iranian transactions. Target Iranian crypto assets. This Treasury announcement last month targeted individuals and entities under a specific Iranian person's name. The U.S. could broaden this action to include freezing assets to all Iranian global holdings of crypto, gold, real estate, etc. And finally, target global ports. Any foreign port that facilitates trade and sanctions with shipping companies that transited Iranian ports could be targeted. Now, of course, what I just read, this is what it could be. This is not a proclamation. This is not anything official. Just to remind you guys, none of this is actually in place yet. This is all just what Besant said, or all what he hinted at could be. So none of this is official yet. And also, finally, he continued, there may well be other creative options in scale and scope. The broad point is to escalate the economic and financial blockade of the Iranian economy and financial system by enveloping all parts of the global economy, namely China, and the global financial system that allow Iran to continue to sell oil and access funding markets. Well, that was a big mouthful. Let's move to the Red Dragon. The Red with us tonight is our usual war correspondent from the Great Dragon Empire. He thinks it's very likely a major war is on the horizon, but is curious what we think. So, Panda, let's start with you. Do you think a major war is indeed coming? If so, who will be the major players and what will be the theaters? If a war isn't coming, why?
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this short for you guys. It's very much binary. Is it coming or isn't it? I lean towards no, it's not. However, the caveat to that is that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen within the next 20 years. There's frankly too much going on between population distributions as well as natural resources for, again, if it's going to happen, it's going to be within the next 20 years. It has to, because we're going to have to figure out some sort of hegemony on where our natural resources are going and how the population distribution is going to affect the world, if it's going to. In an international sense rather than just an intranational sense. So the major players, it is going to wash out into BRICS, and we have to be careful when we jump on this. Back in 2014, once Gazprom started dealing with China, it was supposed to have flipped then and there. And the reason I cite that is because, like with most things, but then particularly with economic issues, because that will actually be the biggest driver in all of this, will be the economics, and I'm placing resources under the economic issues. What's going to happen is that nothing's going to happen, and then everything's going to happen all at once. And we've already started that even before 2014, but certainly 2014 when Gazprom started dealing with China and with various BRICS infrastructures. The problem with the U.S. jumping into Iran and saying, hey, we're going to start sanctioning you, is that Iran is already operating on their back foot when it comes to dealing with the U.S. There's not much more that the U.S. can do without drawing in other countries. And of course, as mentioned in that article, those countries are going to be primary. China's going to be the biggest one that has the potential to be affected, but there's a smattering of other smaller countries that are going to be dealing with it as well. So I think that's the short answer. Did that give enough of a jumping off point?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Somebody else jump in. Let's hear from other people on this one. This is a loaded question. I'm sure there's lots to talk about.
Well, what I would say to this is, well, we need to define what war is. And the thing is, if we're thinking war as something like a massive conflict between two sides, a la the world wars, then no, I don't think anything like that is coming. What's happened is, obviously, we have the various generations of warfare, and we're now in what's called fifth generation of warfare. And that, what that is, it's all this kind of proxy conflict, it's economic warfare, it's sabotage, it's intelligence, etc., etc. And that's the shape of conflict, because ultimately, because global trade has become so interconnected between various different blocks and countries, I think the cost of actually having a proper full-on hot war is too much now. That's why we're stuck in this kind of fifth generation of warfare. And so that's the kind of nature of it, really. We are at war. We just haven't really caught up to the fact that the nature of it's fundamentally changed. And just to add to what Panda was saying about sanctioning China, well, okay, you can say you can do it, but can you actually enforce it? Because I mean, China's the second largest economy in the world, and
Well, see, it's funny you say that, because I have another article right here. Let me pop it up real quick for you guys. Let me drop that. I was hoping somebody would bring up China, because the U.S. just moved its last aircraft carrier out of the Pacific over to the Middle East. So we don't even have water and air bases in the Pacific right now at all. At least according to the news. But you can't really hide an aircraft carrier. But so
sanctions work great in the third world and to some degree the second world until they don't. And there's always this issue of velocity and balance, wherein you can ostracize a developing nation to a certain degree, but at some point it's not going to matter because the country itself doesn't matter, or they're so tired of throwing bricks at one wall that they'll just turn around and start throwing bricks in the other direction. And so then they can trade with other countries. And so it is a question of, once you reach a certain point, your sanctions are irrelevant because there's alternative economies.
No, certainly. And another point, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, and I think that's ultimately for sure what we would be running into when we're dealing with somebody like China. I mean, the shorthand, and it is easy, it's just to run to BRICS. There's some countries in there that, India would have a harder time with sanctions, and that would force all sorts of funny stuff to go on if we started poking at India. But certainly China can go more or less their own. Russia has been going more or less their own for over a decade at this point. And then Iran is in a position where it can more or less do whatever it wants because, okay, the U.S. is sanctioning us again. Who cares?
And to just come in to add on top of that, I think sanctions don't really work for two reasons. Because one, ultimately, I'm reminded of the situation in the Napoleonic Wars where Napoleon tried to impose the continental system where he had all of Europe blockade Britain. And that didn't work because it made France deeply unpopular because Britain was the leading economic partner, trade partner, and the Russians were the first to break on that, and that led to Napoleon's disastrous invasion in 1812. But another point, which I think is even more pertinent, is I'm very much influenced by the ideas of the German economist Friedrich List. And in his book, The National System of Political Economy, one of the things that he really stresses is that wartime is actually very good for your own domestic production because it encourages you to be self-reliant. And so what all the US has done by putting all these sanctions on Iran for all these decades is force Iran to be more self-reliant and not be subverted by, because I would actually argue if America wants to seriously regime change Iran, a more effective strategy would be, instead of all of this bombing and trying to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, it would be to actually drop all the sanctions on Iran, try and flood them with all your POS and materialism and all your goods, and soften them up that way.
Indeed.
To flip them. Exactly.
Not that I wish that on Iran. I don't. That's evil. But I think that would actually work better than just bombing them and sanctioning them.
Yeah, that was the end of my point. If anyone else wants to come in.
I think outside of those things, though, a larger war I don't think is on the horizon. Mostly because the other players that end up in the news all the time, right? They're not really in a position to start a war with us. China's considerably weakened by removing their oil source. The Iran made up about 50% of their oil, and they were getting a sweetheart deal on it because it wasn't the global market price. Russia is, of course, barely handling Ukraine. The EU, if they decided to hop into anything, is also weak. The Chuds won't fight for them, obviously. There's a serious, of course, we're not likely to start anything because of the Trump's platform of not starting new wars and not doing ground invasions at the very least. And then South America is just they're kind of on our side of things because of Don Roe doctrine. And South Asia isn't actually surprisingly. I mean, Japan's got its issues, but Trump recently stabilized the currency. It's still very weak, but that actually has opened Japan up to a lot of investment from Americans. Lots of abandoned properties are being bought up by them. It's bringing a lot of money into the country. A lot of the South Asian countries that were also struggling with oil because of the situation in Iran, we have swooped in and basically provided them with oil. So we've stabilized many of our allies in that region. Things are looking surprisingly strong for the U.S. actually in global politics. There is no likely, and the people who were part of the Shadow Fleet are either removed, like Cuba and Venezuela are, and it has harmed the other nations that have remained stable regardless of it. They're not in the position to do anything against us. One might argue, sanctions haven't worked as well as we thought. Yes. One might also say that just bombing a country doesn't matter if the regime is still intact and the people don't literally just take over and replace the elites. They have to do that. They have to do that or nothing happens. I think the hope was with what Trump was doing in the Iran war was that he thought that if he eliminated the at least a couple layers of the leadership, they would eventually give up and it would basically kind of fall apart because their economy really is in bad shape. And the most recent bombings over the last week or two have destroyed enormous amounts of infrastructure. It probably would take more time for that to lead to some sort of full collapse of society. I don't know. None of us really know what the exact strategy is here.
Based BattleTech reference. Thank you, Dissident Knight. Based.
I don't know enough about BattleTech to understand that reference.
Literally the spheroid and clan merchants tactic for subverting the clans, but it didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Color Revolution shit's really going to work with them. I mean, the problem is that
because they've tried it before, and like here's the thing: like Iran has been sanctioned basically my entire life, and I'm almost 50. Like, it's just not
even worse than
you
think. It's even worse than you think. Their central bank has been printing money like out the wazoo since the 1980s. Their economy couldn't get any worse at this point, and yet they still can't. It would still take the people to just stop tolerating it and just overthrow the government. The organized minority would have to form and overthrow the government. That's what needs to happen. but they did something very smart, and that they said that anybody caught criticizing the state or protesting would be shot on sight. They crossed the Rubicon on hard authoritarian action, something that we've not been willing to do, that other Western nations have not been willing to do, even the globalists have not been willing to do. They're in it for the long haul. They would it would take a ground invasion to follow up with the shock and the awe at this point, most likely. We would have to literally hand the people guns and say, go take over the government.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening. I just don't think
I don't see it happening either. I think Trump's resisting the ground invasion. And the sad truth is that
I don't think it can happen. It's a mountain fortress. Like the whole country's a mountain fortress. Like, how would we even get a bunch of ground forces in there? It would be a long slog of attrition that would just shit up the entire trade through the Strait of Hormuz. It would be an absolute economic and human disaster to go into some major war conflict in Iran. I don't think it's going to happen.
What makes more sense would be to just airlift a bunch of fucking guns to them.
And
just
also
drop crates of guns.
And also, I think that the way I phrased the question was a bit of a trick question. I think we are already in the start of a major war. I think with the decaying, shitty American empire, with how weak all of us have become in the West, and a lot of that, again, remember, is the United States empire's fault of why white countries are so weak right now. And you have, apparently, we're all led by the nose by the fucking crazy Zionist Israelis. And they started this war. And don't forget, another hook nose started the war, or not started, but perpetuated the war and made things worse in Ukraine, even on record saying he's going to make Ukraine a second Israel. Like, we have already been in a new war for at least a couple years now. And if you want to go back and say it started even before Ukraine, then you can make an argument for that. But I think that this global war is not going to be like World War II, or it's definitely not going to be like World War I, fighting in trenches. But I think that we are engaged in whatever you want to call it. A global war is actually happening, and we're living through it. It's just
even war sucks nowadays.
Yeah, even war is fake and gay now. It sucks.
Yeah, war is fake and gay.
Yep. So, no, I actually think we are in a major war, and it will escalate, and things will get worse, and economies will suffer, and people will die. And like you saw Meh in the chat earlier bringing up just missed fertilizer shipments alone might cause millions to die from starvation, because all that shit all the chemicals have to go through the Strait of Hormuz to get to where they need to fertilize fields. Well, you missed your window. So now the crops that people will be expecting by the end of the year have not been planted and have not grown. So there you go. It's like there's just...
and that gets into all sort of funny territory, just fun daydreams or whatever, because it's like, well, then you've got Green Berets escorting phosphorus or whatever to get it to the different countries, which isn't totally unheard of, but this is the funny time we're coming into, where it's all nothingness, just more nothingness. But I do think if we really went down this road, I do think the U.S. is probably, yes, we're weak and we're terrible, and there's a lot to be said about how we're acting, or we are functionally retarded in much of what we're doing. And having said all that, I also think we're starting on third base right now compared to everybody else starting at home plate. That's not necessarily in relation to our military forces as much as it is the natural resources and just the practicalities of having 3,000 miles worth of space, and roughly, what is that? Is it 2,500 miles between London and New York City, and then I think it's 5,000 between Hong Kong and California. I might be off on this.
I don't know about that. I don't know the exact numbers across the
But
Pacific
y'all understand
line is probably farther than 5,000 miles. But since New York and London are higher up in the northern hemisphere, 2,500 to 3,000 sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I got something to say.
Please.
So I think war has already been declared against the people and against America. Like we have had a war waged against us in Americans since fucking Hart Celler, right? Like they've been systematically destroying our country, taking it apart and selling it off to the highest fucking bidder. They've been, deracinating our people, polluting our nation with third world refugees and bullshit while extracting as much wealth from us as they possibly can. I don't see a way out of this that doesn't end with a giant fucking war. Like with a big hot war where because
internal or external?
I think both.
Okay.
Both, because the only way that we're going to be able to excise a lot of the foreign incursion into our own nation is by going to war, not necessarily with ourselves, but with another nation where we can say, look, we can't have these fucking people here anymore. Like you just are not conducive to being in our country. You need to fucking go. I don't see a lot of the, like, we're in so much fucking debt now. Like there's no way to fix that debt without blowing the shit out of the people who we owe the fucking money to.
That could be part of it,
unless
too.
we just totally switch our economy, but we can't do catastrophic shit like that. Will lead to war one way or another.
Yeah.
Like any major shift in our way of life is going to either lead to or come as the result of a war.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's possible. But because of how warfare and economics has changed, because of how globalized and digitized everything is, I don't know. I'm not making a prediction. I'm not informed enough and intelligent enough on the topic to say. But I do think that whatever happens, if escalation of sanction and conflict continues, it will stress our already failing House of Cards economy to the point to where it will probably fizzle out and cause horrific economic strife, or the lunatics of the Zionist war machine will just try to kick off World War III just because, hey, it worked 100 years ago, let's do it again.
Yeah. I just want us to start building giant mechs. That's all. I'm fucking.
Hey, don't threaten me with a good time.
I want mech warfare. That's what I want to see.
Unleash the Gundams.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, anything else anybody wants to say on the topic? Because we've talked about it plenty. We can move on. Anything else? All right. Let's go ahead and move on. I don't think we have any paid chats yet. Let me refresh again. Yep, nothing yet. Nothing yet. So we'll go ahead and scoot along. We'll bring the topics back up here. Let me drop that banner. We'll bid adieu to the red. Go back to the topics. We have voter fraud from the green, the speed of light from the blue, and political intimidation from the black. Bede of Britannia, you are the party leader. What will be next, sir?
Fat Dave, you're up.
I want to go with let's look at political intimidation.
Okay. This is a simple one, so this will be a pretty small topic.
Sweet.
We'll just pop over to Twitter here. This up in Minnesota, where they're having all the problems with fraud and Somalians and all that. Minnesota GOP candidate woke up to this in her driveway. It's a bunch of just non-white middle fingers stuck all over her car. She is running on a platform of ending fraud in Minnesota. The fraudsters are clearly afraid she will win and are trying to intimidate her. And here's video of, people in headscarves, probably Somalians.
Absolute fucking brainlets.
Yeah. Just, just putting these stupid photocopied middle fingers all over the car. So that's not very interesting. So let's talk to the dragon here. That's not it. There we go. The Black with us tonight is a powerful desert lord who enjoys visiting us to talk about corruption and other devious tactics. He is curious what we think about this kind of intimidation. Dave, do you think that intimidation like this is effective or just performative, or perhaps even a staged media stunt? Perhaps. What kinds of political intimidation do you think are effective? However,
well, I think. Well, I mean, I think this kind of stuff is in Minnesota. It's effective because the establishment is sympathetic to their aims. Right. The establishment is fully on board with the anarchic tyranny of allowing these fucking renegade leftist idiots to run rampant. And most of the political class there, I think, knows that were something really bad actually to happen to them, that nothing would happen to the people who did it. You know, like if these people had set her car on fire instead of just doing this gay passive aggressive shit, if they had actually set her car on fire, I don't think that those people would face any consequences, even if they were caught.
Well,
because the court system in Minnesota is way too corrupt.
Yeah, well, see, I don't trust somebody just because they have a GOP on their ticket. Like, in the state of affairs with how things are, and everything is always about spin and media. Like, to me, I don't put it past a GOP candidate to initiate this and have paid those people just for the media, just for the publicity.
Oh yeah, probably not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised about that either. But you know, we'll point to Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah.
Right. And the intimidation that made her fold on birthright citizenship. I mean, not like she probably wouldn't have anyways. But we can definitely I think she would have. But you definitely can't rule out the fact that people were like legitimately threatening her family. Right.
True.
And I think it's undeniable that we have a serious issue with left-wing intimidation and violence, political violence in our country. Like that kind of shit wouldn't fly here necessarily in Idaho, but it does fly all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of places it does. Yeah,
like they've ruined Portland. They've ruined like the whole western or east. Yeah, they've ruined all of Western Oregon because they run the place. Mm-hmm. and especially Seattle, like they run Seattle and they've ruined the fucking city because anybody's afraid. People are afraid to enforce the rule of law. The police are afraid to enforce the rule of law. The politicians have no will to enforce the rule of law because they see what they get from, they keep getting reelected by the hoodlums. They live in the nice neighborhoods. They have private security. They don't go downtown. They don't have to suffer the indignity of being around the homeless drug addicts that they enable all over their city. They just don't care. Like Newsom doesn't give a shit about the fucking junkies shitting on the streets in San Francisco. He doesn't give a shit about that because it doesn't affect him personally. Like he is rich enough to stay away from it. And, but that means when an actual grassroots candidate or someone who is affected by it tries to stick up for it, then that homogenous fucking, the homogenous political establishment in those states that is largely left wing just leverages these kind of tactics against them.
Yeah.
And then the friggin' Jew-owned media in the States who just wants to continue to destroy all of our culture and our, they want to destroy our nation. Those guys are they just give cover to people like this. So, which is why you had to find that article on Twitter instead of on NBC or ABC or CNN or any of the other ones, right? Like, they're only reporting it on Twitter because they're not going to report that their side are being horrible, degenerate pieces of shit to all the fucking boomers that that control all the wealth and support their slop. So, I think to answer the Dragon's question, I think to a degree this is performative, but it's the thin edge of the wedge, right? It's the thin edge of the wedge of political violence against these people, against anybody who sticks their head up. And And especially given in Minnesota, which is barely a friggin' state anymore. Like their state government and everything is so absolutely captured by this socialist, communist, anti-white narrative that they're more than happy to allow their pet chimps to run around and chimp out all over the place and destroy everything and steal everything just because it keeps them in power.
Yeah, and that is why petty intimidation like this does work in some places, like you said, because it has official weight behind it.
And it's one way, and it's a way for them to say, "Hey, we know where you live."
Yep.
Hey, we know where you are. And
I just
we are
wish more
willing
people on
to
our side
violate
would get with the program and do that, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, well, that does then beg the question, like, does political violence, do we want an escalating war of political violence?
Well, I think it doesn't matter if we want it or not. It's on us.
It's on us. It's here. It's here.
Whether we want it or not, it's here. That's what's happening.
Right. Well, and when you point out to people that the reason why Mustache Man came to power was because of the violence of the communists and how people got so fucking tired of the communists running rampant in the streets, beating people up and burning buildings and doing all the shit like this, while the Jews
and Berlin being full of prostitutes and drugs and shit all the time.
Exactly. So people don't want to admit that part. They're just like, it's the meme. Oh, all of a sudden, one day, for no reason at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And there's so many parallels to now what's happening now to what happened then. So, yeah.
Well, that was a good opening discussion. Let's hear from some other people on this one. Somebody else.
So let's go to someone else.
Well, my views on this are, I don't know. I kind of think, depending on the type of intimidation, it can be effective or performative. I mean, just to give an example from a long time ago, there was this incident involving Nigel Farage back in, I think it was 2014, where he and his family were out having lunch on a Sunday and a bunch of leftists came and harassed him. And so ultimately, I think that was there more just, leftists were bored and thought, let's go and annoy Nigel Farage, this kind of right-wing boogeyman we don't like. Again, I don't really think that was particularly effective, but there are forms of actions leftists do take which are far more dangerous than what they've done to Nigel Farage or done to this woman, which is, the guy who shot Charlie Kirk. I mean, that was effective because you silenced one of the most effective mainstream voices on the political right in America. And, what was the Trump administration's response to that? I mean, absolutely pathetic. So yes, in some cases it did radicalize some normal people, but also I think it's cowed a lot of people as well, to be honest. And all it's going to do is embolden the radicals on the left to do more things like that in future. There's a stumbling said in the chat, in this country, that man who bludgeoned Anne Widdecombe, an elderly woman, to death.
Indeed. So
yeah, and you guys have covered everything. I was going to say, simply, there's elite. If there's not outright elite power behind it currently, there's elite allowance. Up until there's nothing left on the right to lose, or up until somebody in the halls of power decides to squash this stuff. Yes, it is intimidation, and yes, it's going to continue.
Yeah. Three?
Yeah, I saw 3 unmute earlier. What's up?
Well, I have to admit, I'm just kind of tired of it all. Also, being someone who's under propaganda meant to make me hate my country day in and day out has just had the opposite effect because of how disagreeable I am. It's made me more of an American chauvinist every fucking day.
Okay. All right.
Like, wow, that's interesting, but I don't care.
I hear you. I wish I could be that, but man, I just hate what my country has done for so long. Like, I like my people and I like my history, but I cannot.
My country is not my government.
Yeah, I know. Like, I get it. Like, I'm patriotic for like me and the people in America who I think are good people and want the good things. But man, I hate what my government does and what they have done for so long. Ugh, it just sickens me. Real Americans.
Yes, yeah. Real Americans. Real Americans don't even give a shit about getting on a plane and going other places. We're already the best place.
So let's talk about the Dragon's final question. What do you think are the most appropriate or most effective types of political intimidation?
Well, there's murder, as I've elaborated on, considering the Trump administration's response to Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yeah,
calling any Republican a racist.
Assassination.
I think that assassination is too strong and it can backfire. I think that the people who were already aware of things are even more fired up and view Charlie Kirk as a martyr. The people who already hated us want to kill us anyway. I think that the most effective type of intimidation is not putting stickers on somebody's car that has a middle finger. I think that's weak sauce and stupid. Now, maybe in Minnesota where everything is so calm and milquetoast, that might carry weight. But I think that angry people going to politicians' houses, showing up where they eat, showing up where they work, pointing at them, saying you need to do or not do this or else we know where you live. I think that's effective. Now, I'm not talking about Washington, D.C. and the swamp. I think that's out of our control, and it's very difficult to influence, like, Supreme Court judges and shit like that. But when it comes to most political public offices in regular areas, regular cities in America, rural areas in America, simply showing up, not getting in someone's face even violently, but just showing up and like, hey, I know that you're the mayoral executive of where I live. And I know that this fall, there's going to be something for you to vote on for X. You need to do it, you need to vote on it this way, because if you don't, you'll have to answer to all of us who have farms here, or all of us who, are involved in X industry, or who represent children in our schools. You are going to be held accountable to us. And if you show up with like 3 angry good old boys who just stare at that person, I think that is very good intimidation. We use that here in rural areas. I've been a part of these parties that face people, like the shitty sheriff that we got rid of like 10 years ago. Like, this kind of thing does work on a smaller scale, and it can work in smaller cities too. Being like, I don't care what kind of bribes or who's going to pay you what, you live here. You're stuck here with us. And if you don't do what's right for us, there will be hell to pay. Like, I think that kind of intimidation does work. Now, I don't think it works, like I said, on big and important people in Washington, but I think that in the face type of intimidation, letting local politicians know they have people to answer to, I think that's effective. You don't even have to burn down anything. You don't have to beat anybody up. You just have to show up and be serious about it, and have people who mean it. What do you guys think?
I think economies of scale is a good way to structure the conversation, because it is that question of what's good political intimidation, or what is the most useful political intimidation. And certainly it depends on who's our political target and what is it we're trying to achieve with this. And so, yeah, I think to some degree, as you had said, assassination is, that's getting pretty strong, has likelihood of backfiring. I also think it's useful, depending on the tempo, to have it put in there every once in a while. Now, again, we're talking on all these different bases, right? Because no, I don't think assassination is good from a moral, a spiritual standpoint, even a national spirituality. I don't think that's what you want to become known for.
Absolutely.
But I do think it's
agree.
effective
It's bad
when you're on the left, right? So as I'm listening to you, though, and you're talking about small local election stuff, I think you're absolutely right. It is as simple as somebody going up for mayor, and you don't even have to say anything. But if you're one of the guys that owns a wrecker in the county, and for whatever reason, you start moving a little bit slower, or you start not taking certain jobs or whatever. Now, you hear me saying that there is sacrifice on your end. And so it is this question of cost, but we are continuing to move into this prism, this likelihood of things costing us more and more. And we are quickly, if I'm going to put a number on it, within the next 3 decades, it's going to be put up or shut up. But I'm very much hopeful in that. And I think we're going to see more and more of this. And while I'm not going to head out with Arden to South America, I do think we are going to see little strongholds of pro-white action, of pro-American action.
Yeah, I mean that's already happening.
Resistance in little ways. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's what Rousseau's doing with Patriot Front. That's what a lot of people are doing. It's what Arval's doing. I mean, I don't think that is our path to salvation, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and people are taking action. And unfortunately, that's just,
at some
that's
point too. Now to swing back over to the left side of political intimidation, at some point, what are they going to do? Say no? We can be active, and it's going to come to a point where for them the cost is too much, because for them to have an effect on what it is that we're trying to do, they're going to have to get state power involved. They're going to have to get federal power involved. And ultimately, once it gets to that level, I don't think it's going to get to that level. We can go way down that road. So I'll stop there.
Okay. We'll let somebody else talk. Who else wants to jump in on this? Anybody else have anything you want to talk about what the appropriate or effective types of intimidation that could work for us would be?
No,
I don't know.
Go ahead, 3.
I mean, it's definitely not the same tactics that work the other way around.
Yeah,
I think we would have to threaten. We would have to threaten our enemies with something that has not been used against them in quite some time. A real threat of prosecution and possible execution.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're really scared of. That's what they've done all this for, is to set up these permanent fiefdoms that they can just take money from, no consequences.
And also, I think that the left are genuinely afraid of lynching, because it's such a common mythological touchstone to them. Like, oh no, these angry white people are going to lynch us. Oh no. Like, even though that's mostly a myth, they're still afraid of it, and we can weaponize that against them.
They're afraid of any real punishment. They'd be afraid of tarring and feathering. They're afraid of all of these different things, because you can't control a mob. You can't control the mob that's in front of you and angry at you. You can't reason with it. You can't stop it. Even if one person loses the nerve to stick the knife in you, someone else will. But that's what they're really afraid of, and that's often why they wield that against us.
Mm-hmm.
Often, I mean, mostly because as much as they talk about being the empathic people, they're not. They never have been. They never will be. They only project what they feel and think about the world on everyone else. They can't think of how we think of things.
That's why they hate that heat map that shows them not having the preferences like we do.
There's more than one reason. It depends on who they are, right? If they are if it's the woman that does have the unlimited, that does have the enormous amounts of empathy, she's wasting it on people who don't like her.
Yeah.
That's the real problem. It's being weaponized against her. For the elites that notice that the Goyim are noticing, they're like, no, we can't have this, because it reminds people to focus on their communities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that the answer to the question is we need to actually put real physical consequences on these people. You need to take their money away. You need to harm them with violence. Sanctioned violence, but still violence.
Yeah.
As in, they would be entirely afraid of just being investigated and then being prosecuted and then being executed, all under the law without having to break any laws whatsoever. We can do all this legally. We can do all this stuff without destroying our souls. We can do it all the way that we want to do it.
It just takes enough men with
backbone and do it.
Yep, it just takes enough men with will and organization. We can still do it.
Yeah.
So let's, Dave, unless you have anything, we'll move to paid chats.
Well, I was going to say, no, I'm a big fan of the tar and feathering.
I'm personally a fan of bringing back the stocks and pelting people with rancid vegetables.
Yeah, that's good too. That's good too.
Well, 100%, because that one, it is quick, it's severe, and it's redeemable.
Yeah.
You know, and once you pass that line of doing something that is irredeemable, done. May God have mercy on your soul. Make it public, make it quick.
That's one of the reasons why I think our enemies are sick, wrong, and aren't winning people to their side, because they have no redemption. Like, if you get branded a racist or something like that, and then you get depersoned, you are never, ever allowed any chance at redemption. You are punished, shamed, and have your life destroyed forever. Like, so I think that redemption is one of the things that massively sets us apart from the other side. But anyway, we have a paid chat to get to from the one and only Dissident Knight, longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you, DK. DK for $25 US. Thank you so much. He says, the Emperor's light drives us forth, and the Titans of God shall end this war. Cogs and bolts and ancient lore, fashioned fearsome engines of war. Those it defends in fear shall adore as it guns, leaving nothing but gore. Nothing can withstand its steps as it leaves behind a path of death. Titanicus, String Storm. Now that is that's some 40K stuff right there, and I deeply appreciate that, Dissident Knight. Thank you very much, my friend.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's make sure we don't miss any other ones. Let me refresh Cash App over here. All right, we are good to go. Thank you very much, Dissident Knight. Now, moving on, let's drop the banner and bring back up the dragons. That was the Black Dragon, which leaves us 2 left tonight. We have Voter Fraud from the green and the Speed of Light from the blue. Bede of Britannia, you are the party leader. What is next, sir?
3 or 12, you're up.
Well, to get it out of the way, I would really like Speed of Light, the blue dragon.
Oh boy, okay. I found this interesting, and hopefully you will too, 3. Let me see. There it is. Caltech breakthrough brings fiber optic performance to silicon chips. Caltech scientists have developed a way to guide light on silicon wafers with low signal loss approaching that of optical fiber at visible wavelengths. This accomplishment paves the way for a new generation of ultra-coherent and efficient photonic integrated circuits, PICs, which will have a profound impact in a variety of on-chip applications, including precision measurements, such as optical clocks for timing and gyroscopes for rotation, and AI data center communications, and perhaps even quantum computing. Caltech researchers have found a way to move light. Wait, I just read that. Why is it bigger there? All right. Weird article. Optical fiber already forms much of the hidden infrastructure behind modern communications. It allows information to travel over long distances at high speed because the glass inside the fiber is extremely pure and its surface is engineered to be exceptionally smooth. As a result, most of the light entering one end can reach the other without being absorbed, scattered, or otherwise lost. Researchers refer to this ultra-low loss performance. Refer to this as ultra-low loss performance. Here's a quote from one of the researchers. For years, we have been working to translate the spool-based fabrication of optical fiber onto silicon wafers while trying to preserve the fiber's hallmark ultra-low loss, says Kara Vahala, the Ted and Ginger Jenkins Professor of Information Science and Technology at Applied Physics of Caltech. We have developed a method to print optical circuits made from the same material as optical fiber directly onto the same 8 and 12-inch wafers used for chips. This shift towards fiber-like performance, especially in the visible bands, will enable new technologies that benefit from negligibly low circuit energy loss. Bringing fiber onto chips. The researchers create waveguides, nanoscale on-chip pathways that channel light, using germanosilicate, the same type of glass used in optical fiber. They adapt the material to a lithography-based manufacturing method suitable for making devices on wafers. Instead of running in a straight line, the waveguides are arranged in spirals. This allows the light to travel much longer optical path while remaining inside a very small area. The idea resembles winding optical fiber around a spool, but nanofabrication makes it possible to fit the path into a far smaller footprint. Here's another quote. Germanosilicate waveguides demonstrate extremely low loss and are also readily adaptable to efficiently transfer light between optical fibers and semiconductor lasers, which is of paramount importance in reducing the overall energy cost of server infrastructure, says Henry Blavelt, a visiting associate in applied physics and material science at Caltech, chief technology officer at MCOR, a company specializing in photonic circuits, and an author of the recent paper. All right. At near infrared wavelengths, devices built with the new Caltech platform have already matched the performance of some of the best previous devices made from silicon nitride. Silicon nitride is widely used in optical technology because it transmits data with relatively low signal loss. Here's another quote. Due to the comparatively low melting temperature of the material, we can put our devices into a furnace to reflow the surface of our waveguides to get their smoothness down to the level of individual atoms, which largely suppresses the severe scattering loss that has limited conventional visible PICs, Chen says. At visible wavelengths, our recent platform exceeds silicon nitride's record by a factor of 20, and we have more room to improve. So let's leave it off there because that's very interesting to me. And let's go to the Blue Dragon. The Blue with us tonight sits on an advisory council for techno-magical advancement, and it's his business to determine which new types of technology should be embraced and which needs to either be studied further or disallowed entirely. He chose this story tonight to ask us this. 3 of 12. Will fiber optic chips be the next big step in processing? What other major steps of technology do you see on the horizon, and what opportunities and risks do you think will come with them?
This is an interesting breakthrough, mostly because it's something that's on the horizon. It's not something you should be expecting in a product anytime soon. Mm-hmm. Intel did actually release some products based on tech like this, but they called it Intel Light Peak, and it was meant to replace PCIe connectivity within a PC to increase bandwidth and to reduce EMI. And that's really there was the regional main usefulness of it, because EMI in a PC can cause issues with sound chipsets and stuff like that, and can cause interference with radio signals. It's why really the TV tuner thing never really worked out in the end. But this is a huge breakthrough. This is something that I haven't seen in some time. It's not so much about the bandwidth. It's more about the coherence. You can string this across longer distances. You can actually have it for more than just, say, a PCIe link. You could use this for distributed computing. The fact that you can increase coherence by running it through the centrifuge, so to speak, that is those little rings. The idea is that under certain frequencies actually gain strength doing so, and therefore you have a stronger signal that either can carry more data or can go farther. And since the speed of light is ridiculous, obviously, you get no latency added by running it through that hundreds of times. It's as if you didn't pay any penalty whatsoever. It's still on the nanosecond scale of data transmission. In fact, I think what this would be most useful for, actually, in the immediate, would be for the link between RAM and the CPU, since obviously the cache is on the die. This could greatly reduce memory timings.
So maybe redesigning the way PC MOBOs are even assembled, where like instead of worrying about MOBO bus, everything is just threaded with fiber op.
Yeah, the motherboard itself, yeah.
So for the high density memory that they're using for HDM4 and HDM5, they're already using a fiber optic connection from between the memory and the processor.
See, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. It's a completely different connector. It doesn't go through silver pin or the gold pins like it normally does. It actually connects the memory connects directly to the CPU through a fiber optic
cool.
connection.
I didn't know that, because most of my tech is pretty old.
Yeah, you should look up what Intel Light Peak looks like. It looks like basically a bunch of fiber optic was puked all over a motherboard.
Oh, that sounds cool. I'll take a look at that. That sounds neat. Man in chat says the AI bros will buy it all and we won't get any.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. 3, carry on.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's like pretty much only appropriate for the most expensive memory at this moment. So it's going to be buried in some data center for a while.
Yeah.
Availability for that stuff is like non-existent to a consumer.
Well, I think there's a few things to consider about that too, is that germanium, that germano the germano crystal that they're using, like germano glass, whatever, germanium is not the most abundant resource. It is pretty, it's not, super rare, but germanium is like, there's a reason why we use silicone instead of germanium for wafers, even though germanium wafers are better. They're a better medium for building ICs on. Because it has a less resistance. Like that's the biggest problem with ICs now is when you push electricity through a circuit, it causes resistance and then it generates heat, as to where light doesn't do that. Now for something like this, like for fiber optics, you wouldn't be able to, this isn't memory, right? Memory's still going to have to be a charge for now, because they're not going to know how to gate the light properly to create there's not going to be like optical hard drives anytime soon. It's still going to be based on electrons, still going to be based on
until we get our Star Trek
electricity.
Yeah, the main use of this, although bandwidth is ridiculous, that's the reason why it's obviously never replaced PCIe is because of all these reasons, right? You can still build PCIe lanes that are faster and faster and faster. We're going to have PCIe 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, and they're going to continue to increase in bandwidth, and they'll still be based on regular old electrical traces. The upside of this would be to reduce latency and to reduce EMI. It would be be kind of silly.
Yeah, reducing EM would be huge. That would be, because then you can expand your uses into a lot of different places, and especially because electromagnetic interference doesn't hurt silicone,
right?
Or doesn't hurt
spacecraft
fiber optic. Yeah, exactly.
That'd be a really good.
So you don't have to worry about. Yeah, exactly. There's no solar radiation going to be fucking with your optic chips.
Because something that a lot of people in chat probably don't know is that when you transmit signals through solid metal, it only moves at a fraction of the speed of light. Through fiber optic, it moves about half the speed of light, and through open medium like radio signals, those move pretty much at the speed of light. So the fact that you would connect everything in a system via fiber optic could actually reduce the amount of cycles it takes for data to be transmitted from, say, the CPU to the RAM or to the PCIe devices. You could reduce the latency to the graphics card, which could be handy for reducing frame times if you really want to get ridiculously high frame rates. But for the most part, most people aren't focused on getting, say, 200 plus FPS out of every game, right? So they don't really need those kind of frame times yet.
Because most people's eyes can't even tell the difference between like 80 and 120 FPS anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much true. It's more. You would be better off focusing on a more consistent experience, and bumping up the requirements of games so that they require more performance, and then you stay in that sort of golden zone.
Yeah, that's usually that's what I try to do with my PC games. Is I try to find the sweet spot of looking good but still able to maintain a healthy FPS cap. So even when it drops during busy times, it's still smooth. That's kind of what I aim for.
I mean, just implementing optics into mice absolutely changed the game for how much latency it takes for a human being to put input into a game.
Yeah.
Because
dude.
I've seen some benchmarks on setting DPI, because obviously it changes. The higher the DPI, the quicker the mouse sees a difference in the material it's scanning over. Meaning, like I say, at 100 DPI, it's like 30-something nanosecond, 30-something milliseconds. But if you get it down to 3200, if you get it up to 3200 DPI, it drops down to 18. It slowly drops a little bit off the higher the DPI is. And by the time if you have your sensor set up to like 12,000 DPI, you've got it down to 15. You can shave real time off of it, the time it takes to react, by having a higher refresh monitor with the frame rate that comes with it, and then your reaction from that going into your input, and then that being transmitted to your PC. Imagine if the mouse was connected via fiber optic.
Oh, I know.
That would speed things up too.
So anything else you guys want to say about this? Anybody else want to pitch in?
I think it's fascinating, but I don't think you're going to see it anytime soon.
Oh, no, I don't think this will be consumer grade for a long time because it's expensive.
I'm much more excited to see how HBM 4 and 5 can be implemented even in enterprise grade tech.
Well, when I was looking at science and tech stuff today, this one jumped out at me because I thought you'd like to talk about it, 3, so I added it for tonight.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All I have to say is sorry, but I'm a complete ignoramus on this topic, so I've got nothing to contribute really.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay, man. It's all good. So the last question I'll just ask to all of you, the final question here is, what other technologies or technological shifts or breakthroughs do you think might be on the horizon coming for us? And do you predict any particular risks or major opportunities for these technologies? Anything come to mind?
Oh, I can jump into risks.
Go ahead.
I am not a fan. Okay. Yeah. Not a fan of technology really at all, which is why it's good that, there's folks like 3 of 12 and Dave out here that can get me schooled up on stuff. The risks are readily apparent in the systems of complexity. With each level to the system, we're bringing in new openings for not only contact, but for malicious contact. And so in my mind, what I don't think we will see happening, but what we should see happening is some sort of technological retardation in our systems of management. And that means something as easy as manual switching or some analog containment systems, particularly within infrastructure. I do think when potentially even within banking systems, to have some sort of analog containment, I think is what we need to be worried about. Because as we continue to build the systems, again, we're operating with more and more doors and windows wherein they can be affected. It's a two area issue, in that the one issue wherein we can be affected is complexity within the system itself. And then the second area is that outside entities have that many more opportunities to come and interfere with us. And I think that's where, when we're talking about technology, we have to be cognizant and aware of what we're building into the future. Having said that, the only way potentially to get around that is both, like I said, analog, but then also there is the potential for making this stuff completely ubiquitous throughout the world, and then having AI safeguards within there. But then that starts getting into conceptual priorities and security. And it's an issue of how you actually develop that out within the various infrastructures. So that's my concerns with technology as it is right now. But on the other hand, I hate technology. I was running horses up till 5 years ago.
I actually think what's going to happen is that there's going to be an increasing reliance on supervision done by the engineers themselves. And I say that because they're the only people eventually who are going to be able to understand anything.
And especially if advancement gets faster and faster, you'll have to have the people who actually worked in the development being on scene to make sure it's assembled correctly.
Well, and I guess to address kind of the banking comment there, is that most of our banking systems run on such fucking retardedly old systems already.
Mm-hmm.
That because updating the banking system involves taking it down.
Right.
And so they don't do that. And so a lot of this shit, like, I don't know, it was
because if it's down for a minute, how can they cheat and steal stuff out of the stock market?
Well, right. But I mean, it was less than 5 years ago that banks were still using AS400 IBM mainframes.
Which is like what, like a 35-year-old computer or something?
Yeah. Those are like from the early 2000s and the 90s. You know, they're still running. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's stuff still running XP. Like, there's one computer that's still running. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Running XP is very common for manufacturing machines.
I was going to say,
we still run XP on a lot of my shit at work.
Portions of DoD are are still running variations of DOS even up through the end of last year.
Yeah.
And so that is a pain in the butt for those dealing with it, but it's also more secure in some ways. It's not because there's more awareness for those who are in the know about it, but it's also a shrinking pool of expertise and subject matter experts in that particular frame. So both and.
Yeah, that and I did some more looking into HVM4, and it seems like they are looking into using immersion cooling in order to make it work, because the power usage is getting up to 100 watts per stack.
Yeah. The high bandwidth memory it's incredibly energy intensive, and immersion is the next step in data center technology.
I saw some 50 grand setups for that were meant to actually target the sort of like prosumer segment. They cost like 50 grand, but they were showing it off at like Computex, I think, and it basically just looked like literally steam fitting series of tubes.
Hey, I've been told on good authority that's what the internet is. It's just a series of tubes.
They also dig it out of the ground and put it in the wheelbarrows.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We have another dragon to get to, and we have paid chats. We have from Stumbling. First we have from Corgi in the chat. Let's see. Tonight, no text at all, so I will read his usual comment, which is shekels for ye. There was no text on this one, but thank you for the $25, Corgi. You're a great supporter of mine. Thank you so much. Stumbling, one of my moderators a longtime supporter of the channel, has an excellent message here. As I read this, I'm going to place an important link in the chat for what he will be talking about. You can find the book he is talking about at this link. Stumbling for $10 says, anyone who hasn't read Go Free by Jason Kuna needs to go fix that right now. It's the definitive handbook for fighting anti-whiteism and curing yourself of it. Kuna ties together all those loose ends of the subtle and less than subtle ways that you have been lied to and psychologically abused your entire life on the basis of your birth, and provides practices and vocabulary to help yourself and others go free. Absolutely. I obtained that book, it's been a long time ago now, like 5 years ago. Really helped me think on things better, really helped me put things into perspective and not get lost on the weeds with all this stuff. It's a very helpful book, really helpful do's and don'ts of speaking and thinking. It's very good. It's very good. Can't recommend it enough. Thank you, Stumbling. All right. I didn't check Cash App. Let me refresh that. Okay, nothing on Cash App either. Okay, time to move on. So the last dragon of the evening is the green dragon with voter fraud. Now, as the party leader, Bede of Britannia, your choice is, do you want to be the one who takes it first, or do you want to nominate someone else?
I'll take it.
All right. From California. California admits it doesn't track non-citizens on voter rolls as federal law requires. California has now told the country it doesn't know how many non-citizens have been removed from its voter rolls, and that it has no formal policy for investigating illegal voting when it's reported. For years, Americans have been told, let me embiggen this a little bit so people can see it better. For years, Americans have been told that concerns about non-citizens voting are a myth, a right-wing talking point unworthy of serious attention. California's own Secretary of State and Attorney General have proven otherwise, however, by admitting the state has no idea whether or how often it's even happening, but by indicating the state isn't even bothering to track it. A few weeks ago, the ACLJ submitted two California Public Records Act requests, one to California Secretary of State and one to the Attorney General, Rob Bonta's office, seeking records on how the state maintains the integrity of its voter rolls. The Attorney General's office took an extension, ultimately responding on August 10th. The Secretary of State's office responded first, but refused to provide any records responsive to the request. According to its answer, the statewide voter registration system simply does not contain a specific cancellation reason for non-citizenship. In other words, the state cannot tell us how many non-citizens have ever been removed from voter rolls because it just doesn't track that information. Below is a summary of our records requests to the Secretary of State, and how California responded to each. First, we asked the number of voter registrations that were canceled because the registrant did not meet citizenship requirements. California said its system does not contain voter status reasons for cancellation due to non-citizenship. Secondly, we ask for records on the programs the state uses to keep its voter rolls accurate and current. California pointing to training manuals showing that new registrants are checked against death records, felony records from the Department of Corrections, and DMV change of address records, but not a check for citizenship. Third, we ask for records on how the state handles complaints submitted through its election voter compliance forms. Rather than treat this as a record request, California treated it as a question, provided no records, and said only that complaints are forwarded to the elections division staff for review and investigation. Fourth, we also ask the outcomes of investigations into illegal voting, and California simply replied, "We do not maintain those statistics." So this article is long, and whoever put this together, Jordan Sekelo, brought receipts. So this is another article I'm sharing in the chat. For those of you that want the nitty-gritty and the details to dig into this, there's the link. You go right ahead. But for sake of time, I just want to talk about it. So we are not going to dig into the nitty-gritty. We are going to move to Green Dragon, which is this handsome fella. The Green with us tonight is a statesman who enjoys being an open and kind ruler to the humans, gnomes, and elves of his lush little world. He chose this story tonight to ask us a question. This. Mr. Bede of Britannia, can voting as an institution be fixed? What would be required to fix the democratic process in Britain or the United States?
Well, the thing is, the situation in both countries is different, as in this America, you've obviously got institutionalized, mass voter fraud, whereas here it's far less of a problem to my knowledge. You definitely have it in local council elections, but we've never seen anything on the level that you regularly see in of America. So
I thought that might be the case, because I haven't seen any massive voter fraud things coming out of the UK.
No. So what I would say for here, it would simply be just, making sure that parties like Restore Britain can get their message heard. And I guess the main issue was probably media suppression, or, outright slander, like calling them, Nazis and fascists and whatnot. So for America, I think to fix this, well, one, you need to deport illegals. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you could do is to try and actually enforce these laws. But the problem is, when you've got these evil Democrat state governments, obviously there's no incentive to enforce them. And so, I guess the only way you can enforce them is if, I don't know, you impose something like martial law and send the army in. But then obviously that's an unprecedented move, and I'm not sure if the current government is brave enough to do that.
Indeed.
So what I would say is, it's possible to be fixed. It's another question if it actually will be or not.
All right, let's move to someone else.
We need to eliminate universal suffrage. That's the only way we're going to fix this. Not everybody gets a fucking say anymore.
Agreed.
Yes, I've had to come around to that.
Like, I'm tired of this lame notion, this gay notion that just because you live in an area, you should have a say over how it's ran. It's like, no, because there's quite a few people that have no fucking clue how things work, and they should have a say in how things are ran.
Like the Bim Bom Demiflube from Bomalia and my IQ 75 retard cousin who works at a cornfield. I don't think these people should vote. Like, they don't have the prerequisite knowledge, intellect, capacity, or investment in things for their say to carry any weight politically.
Yeah, like they should have to be 35. They should have to be landed gentry, head of the household, and have a stake in their community. Oh, have children.
Yeah, having children is a big one. Being invested in the actual land, country, and people itself. I'm not saying that like you have to IQ test everyone, but like, the person should have to be obviously mentally functional and successful.
Yeah,
like,
these rules came from a world where that didn't exist yet. So having a stack of requirements that imply that you have a functional understanding of responsibility and obligation and stake in your community means that it works with very little, say, infrastructure and payment of say federal workers required. It sort of just works on its own.
Yeah, just in dollars, you can start with, if you are a net negative for the U.S. economy.
Add that to the stack.
Right to vote.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody who's a net negative shouldn't get to vote either.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Add it to the stack.
Yeah, and so what will happen is with a lot of the more controversial reasons for limiting suffrage, you can usually get around those as well by saying, if you're net negative, you no longer get a vote. If you do not have a positive share of U.S. land or whatever, or if you're not a mother, that one's going to be harder. But rather than just coming out and saying this demographic, repeal the 19th and all of that, you can functionally get to that point by setting up different standards rather than just coming out and saying it. Although, having said that, I look forward to the day when we can just come right out and say certain things.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, I entirely agree, because I think the head of the household rule solves that, because basically it means that the only women who would ever vote are women who are widows or have children. They're of a certain age. They're accountable. They're responsible. It eliminates the childless women. It eliminates the feminists. It eliminates the crazy spinsters that can't find a man.
Yeah.
It means that only women who are already mothers and have a stake in their community and care about other people, and they usually carry on what their opinions of their husbands were.
Correct.
In fact, I was given a Pell Grant by a delegate in the county where I was going to college, and the delegate died. His wife became a delegate and continued to support me.
Nice.
Yeah, one of the most based boomers I know is my aunt, and she's 77, I think now. And her husband passed away about 15 years ago, and he was just becoming really politically active after all the lies and shit of the G.W. Bush administration and then Obama. And she's one of the most politically active and based boomers I've ever met. Like, she knows what's up. She talks about things like we do. She watches Fox News and dunks on Trump and talks about all the turncoat Republicans and shit. Like, and she very much, she's got 3 children. She owns 2 properties. Like, I have no problem with that woman voting. And, just, I think that's acceptable. Like, people who are knowledgeable, invested, and prove themselves and their worth to the people around them, like, it's okay for that person to have a say. That person has skin in the game and is aware of things. And just because she's female doesn't mean I think she needs to be excluded on the basis of that.
So, and you can slap me out of this if you don't want to go down this road. But I do think it always sort of gets to, an ad reductum. Is there going to come a point where the vote, though, is something we even want to fight for? Or do you think that's baked into the future regardless?
I think it's baked into the future no matter what. I think that the democratic process, in whatever form that we will have it, is not going away at any time in the future. Like, again, we all love to dream about my based fasci idealism or my based monarchy return to yesteryear. I don't see that happening. So I don't even entertain it as a possible future.
Sure.
And I don't think it would be better anyway.
Here's the thing. Any system is bad if you have evil, corrupt people leading it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's National Socialism. It doesn't matter if it's monarchy. It doesn't matter if it's liberal democracy. Evil people doing corruption is always bad, no matter what the system is. Noble leaders and noble men building a good system, it can be good no matter what the system is. Like, that's why I'm not invested in the types of systems. I don't care. The
last thing we need right now is an entirely new system that people aren't even familiar with and would have to learn how to navigate. when the elites would already know how to navigate it, and then just it would be even worse.
Yeah.
Especially when our federal system, especially when our system works, when the laws are applied correctly and the people have a zeitgeist for it, they're hungry for it. They want it back. They want it to actually function.
Yeah.
And
yeah, actually,
they're not obsolete. I'm sorry, I keep waffling on.
Acknowledging the desire, I think, is important. And that is, when we start getting onto the more esoteric or extreme positions, whether that's, the Starship Troopers service equals citizenship or whatever, it's going to be, I think we're going to get there to some degree.
I mean,
I'll be curious to see what that means.
The Heinlein Libertopia model is one of the only fictional models that I think could actually be implemented in real life and actually do okay. Like if you actually followed through with it and you had, thousands of men actually enforce that and make it a thing. I think that the Heinlein Libertopia concept is actually functional and could be good. I don't have a problem with it.
I think he might have been more prescient even than he was aware of. And we'll see how that washes out. But of course, there's roadblocks on the way, because then the question becomes, what happens when the military is purely DEI? What happens when our types are barred from the military and so on?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we'll get to that point, because I think if you have enough of these anti-white idiots in power to actually do that, they will just make everything fall apart.
Yeah, and I think we're smoking from the same pipe.
Yeah. So anything else on this, or shall we wrap up and move on to the treasure trove?
Well, I've got one thing I'd like to add.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of what sort of political solution there is, or what sort of system there would be in the future, well, this is actually relevant, as I did a stream on Saturday on my channel with a friend of mine called Mitch on Anglo-Saxon kingship. And something that's quite interesting is the reason the Anglo-Saxons had a monarchy, believed in kinship, is because they believed the king was royal and they believed he was sacred. So therefore it was a political philosophy that people bought into. And so ultimately with democracy or some form of voting system, yes, that can work, but people have to believe in it. If people don't believe in it, you'll have to be something else that they believe in, whether that's, I don't know, you have a great man who you declare to be the new sacred king. That's ultimately have to be something people will trust and buy into and believe.
I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons why we won't see a return to monarchy anytime soon. Monarchy requires two things that don't exist in the current era. It requires leading elites who are the upper crust aristocrats that are ineffably tied to the land and the people who work it. None of our elites are tied to us. They are international, globalistly invested. They are connected to systems that elevate them, not because of the nobility of birth, but because they were born with money. The merchants have completely destroyed the aristocrat class and concept of it. And secondly, for the reason Bede said, people have to genuinely believe in the framework of monarchy and the people who shape it. We don't have that either. People don't believe in shit anymore. Everybody just thinks everything's fucked and everybody's out for himself, and everything's fucked. And so we lack the two critical elements to have a functional monarchy. That's why I don't think we'll see them anytime soon.
Well, just to add to that, to give an example, from the reading I've done on Anglo-Saxon kingship, I've come to believe that it was actually the kings themselves that were responsible for the conversion of the English from paganism to Christianity, and not so much the church in Rome. So ultimately, the faith in the monarch was that strong that they were able to effect a religious conversion. And so, I mean, I'm sorry, in the modern times, I don't see any kind of the same level of belief, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, you don't have to sell me on powers top down. I believe you. All right. So let's see if we had any paid chats coming in at the last minute. And if not, we will go ahead and move to, let me pull it up. Treasure. Okay, nothing new on Cash App. Nothing new on PayPal. Nothing new there either. Okay, now. So, I want to shill something tonight. I forgot to last week. One of my monthly supporters that you will see on the introductory video and at the slides at the end of my pre-recorded videos, Divinities and Cults is a game creator, a game developer, and he makes his role-playing game look like classic D&D from the 80s, as you can see from the different covers here. He has that good classic 80s style artwork, classic 80s layout to his books. He has lots and lots of stuff for sale on his site. And his new product that just came out a couple weeks ago, Greek and Norse stuff, which many of my followers love. I love it myself. Please go check out Divinities and Cults. He makes good products. I have previewed a few of them. I support his work. And for you nerds out there that like classic D&D stuff, please check out Divinities and Cults. I am sharing the link in all the chat right now. Pop over there. All of his things are reasonably priced, and I hope that you enjoy his work. So thank you for the support, as always, Divinities and Cults, and I wish you the best in your products, my friend. So, the memes. Let's start them up. First up, we have used car salesman sells mixed race couple a 2009 Dodge Charger at 32% APR. Don't get me started on the debate. I am not interested. I don't give a shit. I just don't care. I'm sure that the one on the right. I'm sure the one on the right said sensible things, and I'm sure the one on the left was completely retarded and said nothing of use. So
believe it or not,
I don't even need to watch
assholes.
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about this guy over the right, but I have seen clips of him saying very sensible things. So I don't know anything else about him.
What was the debate? What did I miss?
It was about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, that's the real answer. That's the real
I knew
answer.
the topic, and I knew I wasn't interested because I knew it would just be horse shit. And so I'm not going to waste my time with that shit.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is funny. This is for you, 3 of 12. Stairs.
It's from India.
Glory to you and your house.
Glory to you and your house.
All
right. Next up, would you please not vape your fruity flavor around my kids? My wife and I are raising them organically on Marlboro Reds.
This is so true.
Yeah.
I like this. This fool brought an ancient staff. You got no swag. It makes me laugh. Brrr. Necromancer kills the guy. Necromancer rap battles. That would be a fun cartoon.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, very quickly, regarding the last one, for the first time today, I saw an anti-vaping ad. We've had vapes that long, we're starting to see anti-vaping ads.
Oh, no, really? Okay, yeah. Wow. Makes me feel old.
I want to see anti-vaping ads that are pro-smoking cigarettes. That's what I want to see.
Oh, that'd be hilarious, yeah. I mean, that might be in the near future. Who knows? We'll see. All right, next up. Fun fact, you can trap a self-driving car with a ring of salt. If placed correctly, the car's AI reads it as no entry, and it just sits there. So self-driving cars can navigate entire cities, but still lose to basic witchcraft.
That's awesome.
Stuff. I like this. Sir, what's in the bottle? It's just water. Let me see that. This is wine. Praise the Lord. Jesus has done it again. How it feels to be a sensitive young man in a world of evil women.
True.
Then we have AI is now banned in the design process of Warhammer 40K. What is this strange feeling? Approval for a Games Workshop decision.
Warhammer, yet again, borrowing something from June.
True.
Rest in peace, John Blanche.
Yeah, salute, sir. Salute. By far the best illegal alien we've ever had. He learned English and went home.
For real.
Yes.
When Elmo learned to hate, Elmo was told diversity is good, but Elmo's cat and bike are missing. I like this. Walk into an Arab store. Have you seen the news? Those fucking Israeli bastards killing Palestinian children. Order sandwich. Clerk says I don't have to pay. Walk into a Jewish store. Have you seen the news? Those fucking Muslim bastards killing Israeli children. Order sandwich. I still have to pay. This is why I choose Palestine. And last but not least tonight, Dad's second car crash this week.
Oh my God. Oh!
Oh! I know it's a bit dark, but that's fine. All right. Well, that's everything. We made it through, gentlemen. It was a good time. Let's have us a shill. Mr. Bede Britannia, what do you have to promote, sir? Anything coming out? Anything you want to advertise?
Yes, so what I have to promote is, obviously I mentioned I did a stream last Saturday with my friend Mitch on my channel on the Anglo-Saxon kingship. Mm-hmm. So we're probably going to be doing a follow-up to that at some point because didn't get quite everything I wanted to do. So next time we'll probably look at a bit of Beowulf and how Beowulf is an archetype of an Anglo-Saxon king. Also, I have a series on modern Iran, which is with our good mutual friend Hunger the Dye Merchant.
Ooh.
That will be this coming Saturday, where we'll be finally getting to the Iranian Revolution. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds good. Mr. Wandering Panda.
Sure. So I poke around on X and then I try to stream every Thursday. What we've been doing lately, because I ended up getting a strike on YouTube, is streaming exclusively on X. We've switched up a little bit and we've been working through some different documentaries and then some films and exploring both the history of those and how they apply. Our last one, Kaiser and I did one on the Outlaw King. And then this week we may be doing Weapons, which was a film put out last year, or we may be doing something called Afternoons of Solitude, which is a documentary on a bullfighter out of Colombia.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So Bandy's been on there on South Africa, and we've done some of that. So those have been fun. And yeah, otherwise you can find me on X at Wander Mr. Panda. But yeah, I greatly appreciate the invite. This is great.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're definitely welcome to come back again sometime. I always love having you on. You're fun. Mr. Dave, you were talking to me before the show started. You have something interesting coming up soon.
Yeah, this Thursday we're going to be talking about Theophanes the Greek and the move of the Byzantine art style and style of decorating churches northward from Constantinople before the fall of Constantinople into Novgorod and Moscow, and the evolution of Byzantine art and like the essentials of Byzantine art. So we're going to be doing that this Thursday, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, but 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So
Roger,
on my
Dodger.
channel.
Mr. 3 of 12, anything you want to shill tonight, sir?
I want to shill LGR because honestly, I'm really glad at how he's recovered since he had to rebuild his home from a Hurricane Helen. He's been doing some really good videos recently. He's building like a new steel building in his backyard, and it's going well. I don't know, man. He just good vibes. I love the retro computer community so much, and I try to push to shill every single one of them every chance I get.
Certainly.
You know, Pixel Pipes, LGR, Mike's Tech, you know, people like that. They're all great. Fuck Linus. You can suck my dick.
Yeah, that's the tech guy, the retro computer tech guy, Panda. That's right. I shared the link in the chat. All right, that is it. Yeah. We've come to the end of the stream. I don't see any other paid chats anywhere. Press one last time before we bounce, and I will see you guys tomorrow with a morning walk video and maybe some video game streams tomorrow. And we'll definitely be back next Monday night with more Discordant Dragons. Good night and God bless everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.